So, we all know by now Cyberpunk had a really terrible launch during the year of 2020. The game was filled with bugs, glitches, and if you didn't encounter those, there was game crashes. Even removing all technical aspects of launch day, the gameplay was just unfinished when you played Cyberpunk during the course of the year 2020. Even when I first finished Cyberpunk in 2020, I did notice there was a good game at its core, but then it was hard to ignore all of the bugs, glitches, and game crashes you would encounter whenever you started to boot up the game. So now, fast forward to the year 2023. CDPR made tons of updates and patches throughout the course of 3 years. And I will say, currently, right now, Cyberpunk 2077 plays like a new game. Over the course of 3 years, I managed to play at least 220 hours of Cyberpunk. I played at least 3 different versions of Cyberpunk, which was version 1.0, which was launch day, version 1.6, which came out in September 2022, and now which is version 2.1, which came out recently in September year 2023. And I must say that I do love Cyberpunk 2.1 because it changes the game completely, and the Phantom Liberty expansion is a must play if you are going to be playing Cyberpunk. So this is Codex here. This is my Cyberpunk review. I hope you guys enjoy it. Cyberpunk focuses on a lot of themes like life and death, power, corporate greed, cybernetic body modification, and humans modifying other humans' psyche. The theme of life and death plays a huge role in Cyberpunk. It brings up questions of what life means to each and every one of us, what death is, and what happens after death. And I will say it does a lot to make that particular part of the story a lot more interesting, in my opinion. And the theme of modifying human psyches plays a huge role with our 2 main protagonists, which is V, the one you get to play with the most, and Johnny Silverhand, of which you get to encounter later on during the story of Cyberpunk. Explaining V is sort of tricky in my opinion, because you get to choose one of 3 life paths, which will get you extra dialogue in the game, and you have to choose your gender, which is male or female, and choosing gender will determine which romances you will be able to get later on during the game. To explain V's relationship with the world of Cyberpunk, he or she is a merc in Night City, which is known as a hired gun in Night City, are normally referred to as merc, which is short for mercenaries. And mercs are capable in Night City of getting things done. And explaining Johnny Silverhand is really easy because Johnny Silverhand is fucking great, because Keanu Reeves plays the character really good in my opinion. And I will say Johnny Silverhand's rocker boy attitude, fuck the system sort of attitude, and how Keanu Reeves portrays Johnny Silverhand's persona in relation with V, it's really, really well executed in my opinion. So the biggest hurdle when it comes to the story of Cyberpunk is surviving the first 1 hour 30 minutes of the game, because you get to do the first starting life path, and then you get to do the first act, and after that, once our characters get intertwined with one another, that's when the story takes a huge turning point, and it becomes really captivating to roleplay as V and sometimes roleplay as Johnny Silverhand in a few dream sequences. So all in all, the story in Cyberpunk is told really good, it is captivating, and there are thrilling moments, and there are also sad ones too. But it was one hell of a ride, and I will admit and say that I really did enjoy it because I haven't played a story like Cyberpunk's before, and I will admit that I really, really loved the story in this game. With update 2.0 brought a lot of needed changes with the combat. And with that update, it made it a whole lot more enticing to play the game in various different ways. You can be an agile katana user, of which that's my favorite, or you can go full cyber psycho with your cyberware, or you can be a Sendevistan user, which is a cyberware that slows down time and makes enemies easy for picking. Or you can be a highly intellectual user, of which that will give you a lot of damage when it comes down to using cyberware or using smart guns, because smart guns in this game, they really function good when it comes down to how your projectiles move when shooting at enemies. With the combat of Cyberpunk, it's not your run-of-the-mill sort of RPG where you just have to pick one sort of skill set and then you're gonna have to stick with it till the game ends. You are encouraged to mix match cyberware with different weapons, and it's really fun once you get to know the kind of build that you want. You will eventually start kicking ass and taking names in the world of Cyberpunk. And I will say my favorites when it came down to the combat, in my opinion, it was the katana paired with the agile movement system that came with update 2.0, with the one where you get to double jump and then be able to strafe long distances. And my other favorite aspect when it comes down to the combat was the Sendevistan, because the Sendevistan can be a build on its own. So my opinion when it comes down to the combat of Cyberpunk is it's good. It's good. There isn't anything like the combat of Cyberpunk. I think it's unique on its own because you rarely get to find futuristic cyberpunk-ish games, whereas you get to pick and choose the type of cyberware you want to use and how you want to perfect your cyberware, or perfect your build, in other words. And I just hope that CDPR gets to improve this part of the game much more in the next Cyberpunk game. And the biggest gripe that I have with the game is that there's a lack of consequences when it comes down to decision making in the world of Cyberpunk. That's excluding the fact that we're talking about the final mission, the point of no return. That's excluding Phantom Liberty. Still haven't finished it. But if we're just talking about the base game, there is a lack of consequences when it comes down to decision making, because during the story you do get to do a whole lot of things that will draw attention to our main character, but there isn't any consequences for making those decisions or drawing a lot of attention. That's another thing that I wish CDPR will also improve in the future, because there's lack of consequence. The decisions you make don't matter up until the point of no return, or unless you want extra shit. That's all, sadly. The second gripe that I have with Cyberpunk is the gigs. The gigs, if you do enough of them, they become super repetitive, and they all have one ending, which is you just get your reward, whether it doesn't matter whether you complete them or not. There isn't a proper way to fail them. There might be one or two, three, if I'm being generous, which you will get to fail them if you don't do it as intended. And there are some rare scenarios where you have to make a choice, either getting less loot or getting more loot, in other words, and those are few and far between one another. And my last negative when it comes down to Cyberpunk is that the driving doesn't feel smooth. I will admit that Update 2.0 did make the driving better than what it used to be, but it's still janky and slippery in some cases because the cars sometimes slip around the road and they don't have any traction, in my opinion. If you want to use a bike and then you want to take a turn but also make a power slide while you turn, it's kind of a mess because your bike, for some reason, it starts to slip. And when it comes down to vehicles, in some cases, some of the vehicles are better than before, but the disadvantage is that they are not smooth in some sections throughout Night City's road. All in all, the driving feels weird in some cases. The cars and bikes feel slippery in some cases, and that makes driving less desirable. So, my opinion, CDPR, if you can fix the driving physics in this game, please do, because they feel slippery as hell right now. So, all in all, Cyberpunk is a really good game right now. If you have any concerns about bugs, glitches, and crashes, in my opinion, rest easy because the game is at its best that it can be right now, because CDPR put in a lot of work and it shows when playing the game right now. I know that's a hard pill to swallow after the negatives that I kind of explained, but those negatives are sort of gripes that I do have as a long-time player. I think for a first-time player, you will be able to at least agree with me with maybe 2 points of the negatives that I shared with you guys. And all in all, is Cyberpunk 2.0 is the best version you could start playing the game in, because it's a good and perfectly balanced version of Cyberpunk when compared to the old versions of Cyberpunk. And in terms of the Phantom Liberty expansion, I am still playing through Phantom Liberty. So in terms of the expansion, I am currently playing through the Phantom Liberty expansion. I just hope that I'm able to finish it and give you guys my honest true thoughts on the Phantom Liberty, because as it stands right now, it's fun. It's fun. But I wish there was more. Honestly, I wish there was more. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you made it to this part of the video, I just wanted to say thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, in the next one. Peace.